We made a conscious effort to try and rise above on all those challenging moments, if you will. It's not, we had court battles also, like a lot of other divorced couples go through, and the animosity on one side or the other, and trying to, cause problems, those types of situations. We experienced all that as well. Yep. But we really did make a conscious effort to always try and rise above it, which is much easier said than done. Yes. But we always kept in mind that one day these kids are going to grow up and they're going to remember those moments and who acted like the parent and who didn't.
Welcome to the Blended Family Coaching Show, where you'll discover how to move your step family from just surviving to truly thriving.
Grab your headphones and listen in as we share practical, real-life strategies for building healthy bonds.
Understanding the kids' perspective.
Romance and partnership.
Parenting with great teamwork.
And yes, even co-parenting with a difficult ex.
We're Mike and Kim Anderson, and we believe with the right tools, every step couple can overcome the common challenges of step family life.
Join us for authentic and sometimes comical conversations to discover how you can lead your family with confidence and create the future you really want.
Well, hey there, welcome. We are so grateful for you to spend some time with us today as we head into the new year. We hope that you're excited for 2023. And we're always really excited to hear from you as well. So when you're listening today, if this is bringing value, we just ask you to go ahead and tap that little star over on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts. And if you have some time on Apple Podcasts, we would love to hear from you. Just leave a rating and a review and tell us how we're doing. Well, today we're super excited to invite Dr. James and Ginger Della Ripa on the show to talk to us. Now, James and Ginger have been married for 9 years. They're living in Phoenix, Arizona. They've got 5 kids ranging from 25 to 5. Well, almost 5. We just learned in about 11 days from the time of this recording. And they have their little dog, Shelly, as well with them. Welcome, James and Ginger. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, guys. Good to see you, Mike and Kim.
Yeah, you too. Well, I wonder, before we just kind of start diving into the topic for today and really digging into some of what you guys have been working on, I wonder if you might just be willing to share a little bit of your story.
Sure. Like you said, we've been married for 9 years. We started dating in early 2010 and then blended our family successfully in 2013 before we added the additional 2 children. So when we were his, hers, and ours, at the time I came in with a 12-year-old boy and James had come in with a 4 and a 7-year-old daughter. They blended successfully the moment they met, which is usually odd. They did. They made a conscious effort to blend and accept each other and kind of move forward as new siblings straight away. So we were so excited and blessed for that. You always wonder if there's going to be a bumpy road, but they were successful at it on their own, which was amazing. So we, at that point, had decided that we would start working on gathering, a couple more mouths at the table. And so we did that. So that's where we're at. We have his, hers, and ours, and just 5 kids and a dog running around.
Wow. That's exciting. What would you add to that, James?
Well, we had the similar struggles of a blended family from the standpoint of exes who were involved with the biological children that we brought into the blended family. Yeah. So you had those outside forces at play, all the other grandparents or uncles, aunts that were involved in those children's lives. But we were very fortunate from the standpoint that the 3 oldest children became friends pretty quickly. Yeah. And that helped us to build our new, what I like to call our new nuclear family, and have some degree of success. But so while we were co-parenting the 3 oldest and building our new family, we had all those same challenges, right? Sharing information with the exes, and making sure the calendars worked appropriately, getting all the children where they needed to be for whatever their scholastic or extracurricular activities were, and making sure that we share that information with the other biological parents. In addition to being involved in our own community, being involved with our own work demands. Yeah. And we were able to kind of pull this off and make it look relatively simple, apparently, because we would have a lot of neighbors come over and come up when we would see them in the neighborhood and specifically point out, hey, you guys have a really busy household. I see people coming and going all the time. And you always have all the kids ready for school and everybody looks reasonably happy. and how are you pulling this off?
Yeah.
And so I would always just point my finger over at my wife and say, well, she has developed a fantastic ability to manage a calendar and also to communicate appropriately through the right channels, whether it's text, email, telephone, whatever it may be, to keep everybody informed and remind them also of the upcoming schedule and schedule changes that could happen. And people were just amazed, mystified, really, by how well we were pulling this all together.
Yeah,
that's what I would add to our actual story of how we developed our new nuclear family.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. What I hear in that is not only are we keeping the kids and up to date and on track and what to expect and all that, but it sounds like there was some communication that was going on with former spouses and maybe even some extended family members, either on your sides or even on the former spouse side. Is that right?
Absolutely. It was important for us. We made a conscious effort even early on that we were going to be transparent and we were going to be upfront and we were going to show the children that we were all on the same page. So we had a more difficult situation on one side, and then we had parallel parenting on the other, which can come with its own challenges also, because, at one house they're doing what they do, and then the exchange comes. And a lot of that weight is bared by the child that has to reframe their mind of, okay, now I'm here. This is how I have to behave. This is what the standard of living is. This is what's required of me. And then flipping back to the other children where things may be, more chaotic, less communication. There's more people being involved and what they have to say and do. And so we just kind of hit it head on and said, this is who we are. This is how we're going to behave. We're not going to put limitations on the communication. That way, everybody that was involved could continue to be involved with the children. And we made an effort to keep even grandparents involved and make sure that everybody was able to share in the child's life, that with just our transition or our molding, that they wouldn't lose their identity in their previous families. So we've had to communicate with what we would consider an ex, but it's still their grandparent, or aunts and uncles, and then bringing in new aunts and uncles and grandparents and mimis and pop-pops and nanas and, whatever those were, all of those blending love components. We made sure to try and address and keep them all.
What if you could experience a community that's all about healthy support, guidance, and practical strategies that help you thrive in your blended family? Well, now you can. Blending Together is a supportive community for blended family couples just like you.
We've educated and supported hundreds of couples navigating the unique challenges of blending a family. Now we're inviting you to join our community and experience the transformation that awaits you. But you'll need to act fast because we're getting started soon. Blending Together is not just another community. It's a place where you'll find practical, real-life strategies for building unity as a couple.
And creating more connection as a family.
Experiencing partnership in parenting.
And even dealing with that difficult ex.
Blending Together is a safe, growth-focused space where you get to connect with us and, maybe more importantly, with other blended family couples who truly understand what you're going through. Along the way, you'll discover practical tools, guidance, and hope that empower you to find a future full of confidence and connection.
When you join Blending Together, you'll get to hop into a variety of resources like access to our private Facebook group and online learning platform, monthly coaching meetings, monthly Q&As, and you'll even get to vote on the content for our monthly workshops.
Blending a family can often leave couples feeling alone or isolated and stuck. And quality support can sometimes be expensive. That's why we're offering you access to all of this at a super low monthly rate, because every blended family deserves the opportunity to thrive, regardless of their budget.
That's right. So join us in the Blending Together community and unlock the secrets to successful blending. Together, we can create a future filled with hope, connection, and peace. But don't wait. Click the link in the show notes now. The doors will be closing on October 8th, and you don't want to miss out on this unique opportunity to create the future you really want alongside other couples who genuinely get it. Hey, we can't wait to meet you there.
We made a conscious effort to try and rise above on all those challenging moments, if you will. It's not, we had court battles also, like a lot of other divorced couples go through, and the animosity on one side or the other, and trying to, cause problems, those types of situations. We experienced all that as well. Yep. But we really did make a conscious effort to always try and rise above it, which is much easier said than done.
Yes.
But we always kept in mind that one day these kids are going to grow up and they're going to remember those moments and who acted like the parent and who didn't. And it's easy to keep that in mind when you are in the middle of that storm. Sometimes it's hard to keep it together. To keep your emotions in check. But we came together as a husband-wife team and really supported each other to work through those moments. And I think that was maybe another component that other moms or dads out there kind of gave us some recognition for. They said, look, we know that there are some troubles out there, but you guys seem to be handling the storms rather well, and it's impressive. And so people gave us some compliments throughout the years about how we were getting through the years and raising the children and sharing their time with others.
Wow, what a blessing to have that unity within your home. Often when we're coaching couples, that's what we're focused on. How do we get peace and unity inside of your home so that we can deal with the storm that's surrounding our home?
Yeah, and it's hard because emotions are all over the map there when you're in the heat of the moment. And you said that others around you noticed how you rose above all of it. And the ones that notice the most are the kids. Yeah. The kids see when you are able to hold it together emotionally and not react badly in that moment and rise above everything that's coming at you. And they do notice, they see it. Yeah. We know that we've also been through those tough dynamics. Yeah. And my daughter's now 27 and she knows now what happened, and because she was right there watching it all. Exactly. So I love that you mystified people.
Yeah. Well done. We commend you for that. Well done.
Well, because just like, as 50% of marriages unfortunately fall apart. So other people are going through similar times, right? Similar challenges, raising kids with others. And those are the people that really do take notice, right? When they're having struggles and they see that maybe you're on calmer waters, they want to know what's going on or how you're keeping it together and what's your secret, right? Like, what's your secret? Well, to us, it wasn't about it being a secret. It was just about how we chose to go about taking care of each one of those issues as they came at us. And sometimes, as you know, they come at you 2 and 3 at a time. One issue at a time, per se. You're dealing with 2 or 3 different situations all at the same time, and that might be from one spouse, the ex-spouse, the other ex-spouse that's also potentially causing some turmoil as well. And so you're constantly trying to rebalance the family. But I have to give a lot of credit to my wife. I mean, she was really the epicenter of keeping the balance in the family. And I did everything I could to support her and just remind the kids that, whatever the situation is, that we'll get through it. We just need to stick together and go through whatever the problem is. and try to find happiness in the moment.
Yeah.
So the words that come to mind are determination. You were determined to do it well and stick it out together. And then this quiet confidence, this confidence that, we can handle it. It's coming at us. It's difficult. It's challenging. And a lot of times we're blindsided, right? We're not prepared for what comes at us, but you had this quiet confidence that we can do this. And I love that. I love what you're expressing here as you've intentionally lived your blended family journey.
Yeah, I love that. One of the things that comes to mind for me is the way doctors John and Emily Vischer say, blended families don't have a family tree, they have a family forest.
Yeah.
And it sounds like, particularly you, Ginger, we're very intentional about saying, okay, how do we build some cohesiveness, connectedness, and reasonable communication with this whole forest that's surrounding us for the benefit of the kids?
Right, for the benefit of the child. I think that on more than one occasion, you're usually the stepmom, the woman that's coming in is viewed as, the evil vector. And so I think the extended family was kind of caught off guard when we would be at a social event or something for the children, and the child wants to see everybody excited for their win, choir event or a dance event or something. And so they would be caught off guard when I would say, Grandma, come over here and get in this picture with them. And then they just don't, they want to react poorly, but then suddenly now you're standing in front of a camera because, you basically been forced. You're there, you want to participate, but now you're being asked to be in the picture and they're taken off guard. But our children then look back at that picture and go, oh, that was awesome. You were there to support me, and that was really cool. You invited my grandma or my grandpa into the picture from the other side, and even I had taken our oldest boy over to visit his grandparents from the other side, and she had sent gifts home for our daughters, and they were like, "Well, where did these come from?" And I said, "Oh, they came from Grandma Chris." And they're like, "Oh yeah," and people were like, "Why would you call the ex's parents for them? That doesn't." And I said, what does it matter? Everybody's got a grandma, everybody's got a grandpa, whatever it is. And it's a gift. They're only seeing it as somebody thought of me and sent me something. Yeah. And so it just doesn't matter. And we learned very quickly that as our children aged up, the day they turn 18, it's just a piece of paper. But it's what you did in the meantime, getting to that 18th birthday to where it's all going to dissolve, that leaves a legacy behind them to say, I was accepted for who I was and everybody loved me, no matter whose side of the family they were on. It just, a lot of times we let our emotions get ahead of us and we don't recognize the fact that it just doesn't matter.
Yeah, man, that's so good. I really commend you for the intentionality behind allowing the kids to love the people they love.
Yes.
And experience that together. What a awesome story. So you've lived through almost a decade of this, been really intentional. And somewhere along the line, it was like, hey, we could help some other people do this and be successful as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. This occurred. It was the winter of 2018, and it was the middle of the night. We were asleep, and Ginge wakes me up in the middle of the night. James, are you awake? Of course I am, Ginge.
Well, now I am, yeah.
The Holy Spirit says we have to build an app. That's what she says to me.
Wow.
I shake my head up and down, kind of in that yes manner, and I say, okay, well, let's go back to sleep and we'll think about it in the morning. So we went back to sleep. I know she didn't go back to sleep, but I went back to sleep.
Right.
But I typically get up early in the morning, have my coffee, go through my emails, news, whatever, right? So it was the weekend. So it's like 5:00 in the morning. I'm having my coffee, looking through some emails, and I remember what she had said to me in the middle of the night. And I began to think about that. I put my phone down and began to think about that intently. And it made sense. It dawned on me that it made perfect sense based on everything that we have just talked about and shared with you guys.
Yeah.
We had some gift ability to be more organized maybe than other people are. Other people have special gifts out there. Maybe it's an organization, but that happens to be one of ours, apparently, right? So it just began to make sense looking back on the years, raising the 3 older kids and now bringing 2 younger ones into the mix and still staying mostly afloat. Maybe we do have something to share with other people out there, and in particular in either the co-parenting through divorced family dynamic or through the blended family dynamic, or both in that case, or whatever your family dynamic is, if it's not the traditional nuclear family.
Yeah.
So we began to really brain and mind crunch this idea over the next couple of weeks. And I stole all of my little kids' colored pencils and all the 3x5 cards that I could, and I began to jot out a wireframe of what this app might look like. And we came up with the idea that there was 4 pillars that might help best with co-parenting, communication, and making your daily routines run more efficiently. And so we came up with a secure chat feature, a geolocation service where the kids can check in. We came up with a color-coded calendar that has all the notifications and event reminders in place, and also a data storage feature where you can build your own file systems and then keep track of all your important documents. And then what we did was we made it permissions usable. So suppose you have a blended family, my wife's ex and her share a biological child. The X on that side could be on the platform, but only have access to the information related to the common biological child there. So you can keep all the rest of the information private and secure. They don't need to know about anything else in the family, but they're still included in that family dynamic.
Yeah.
And so those were the 4 pillars that we put in place. And we thought that this was a great place to start to make a more efficiently running, busy family when you're trying to become nuclear, but also still share and communicate appropriately, making yourselves look like true parents that you want to be, that you're trying to emulate and become. And so that was the framework of the idea. Throughout 2018, we began to research some developers and continued to dial in on the idea. And in 2019, we came up with a developer and we built our prototype.
Wow.
It was both web-based and mobile-based. So it was available on the App Store and the Google Play Store. And we launched that right at the end of 2019. We had very good return on the idea. We were on 6 of the 7 continents around the world almost immediately. It was only in English, so it was a limited number of subscriptions out there, but we were everywhere. And we were tweaking the app, we were tweaking the web-based service, we were fixing all the bugs that come with software development. That's just an intrinsic part of it. Yeah. By the end of 2019, we looked at each other and thought, we need to make this a bigger, better thing that is maybe not as clunky, maybe a little bit more user-friendly, and maybe change out the color palette as well. So we went back to the drawing board at the end of 2020, found a different developer. Our first developer was great, but we needed something bigger and bolder. Yeah. And so we were very fortunate. We fell into the lap of a developer that was just right for us. And a marketing team and a research team were put in place. And we began to rebuild this thing from the logic level all the way up again. And we relaunched the web-based version towards the end of 2021. And the mobile app version came out earlier this year in the early part of 2022. We've just loved what has been allowed to be created. Yeah. It's working just wonderfully, and we're getting good feedback from the people who are on the app. Our Google rating is 3.9, which is a whole 1.5 stars above any of our competitors right now. So we're just loving where this journey is taking us right now.
I bet. Now, what's the name of the app? Because I know people are like, okay, this sounds great. What's the name of it?
Sure. It's actually called The Family Core.
Okay, The Family Core. Awesome.
Yeah, and it's all about organizing your life.
Yeah.
Because there are so many moving parts to this, right? Yes. I mean, we hear about it all the time, and the couples we coach, it's just they're always so busy, so much going on and keeping track of things. So this is all about organization. And also what I love about it, because we never had an app like this, unfortunately, when we were co-parenting with my ex.
We barely had flip phones.
Yeah. But there were challenges, and a lot of the challenges were rooted in miscommunications and misunderstanding and lack of information. And it led to a lot of mishaps and conflict. And of course, that impacted my daughter. Sure. Tell us a little bit more about how this tool, is it okay to call it a tool? Is that
absolutely?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Tell us a little bit more about how this tool helps divorced parents communicate better and stay more in step so that we don't have all that miscommunication.
Right. I think I was blessed with the opportunity to learn very quickly what that was going to take for both sides, because neither of our exes communicated the same. So we tried to make it a resource that would kind of harness everybody's form of communication. And that is, less communication is better. As long as the facts are there for each parent, everybody can do with it what they need. So we put a feature in that you can add the document. You can add a snapshot of the permission slip. You can add a snapshot of the birth party invitation. You can add, whatever it is to the calendar event or the secured document, or, any of that information that does have to be shared to minimize the communication and only put in the facts. It takes out all the emotion. So, they have a title or a description of the event. You can attach the file to it, like the picture of the invitation or the field trip
form. The dance recital.
The flyer.
Yep.
Sure. And so not only are you inputting the time that it starts, and you're putting the date, and you're tagging the appropriate people that can be invited to that, you're also taking the hard copy. So there's no miscommunication. You both are sharing the exact same document with the exact same information. And when that other parent does open it, you, as the person that put it in, gets a notification that they've opened the document. So they've been informed.
Yep.
You don't have to go any further. I mean, if you're at a point where you can communicate at a better level, you can send a text that day and say, hey, just wanted to remind you the dance recitals today. You have the information on your calendar. Or for those parents that don't, you've invited them, the child knows you invited them, and you can leave it at that. You're not forcing them to be the parent that you're choosing for them to be. They can choose to be there and be involved if they would like, but at least you shared the information and the child knows you shared all the information. So we wanted to make sure that it was a fair playing field for everybody. I know that early on it was who gets the Social Security card, who gets the real live birth certificate,
right.
All of those things, which are all very important. So we have that feature. That's a secured document. So when it's opened by the other parent, you get a notification that it's been opened, and it's also secured under an additional 4-digit security PIN that you set up so that nobody can just get on your phone and get your child's information. But at least both have a copy, and it's secure, and the child knows that, it's HIPAA and COPA compliant, and your child knows that's not going to be the next argument. Like Social Security card 7 times, that kind of thing.
Right.
Everybody's on the same playing field, which is the beauty of communication. Then there's lack of, or there's no over communication, which again can cause confusion or harm on the child as well.
Yeah. One of the things that we've noticed was even if the other side isn't that interested in being a part of that type of digital platform, what we have found, and we've gotten this feedback from some of our subscribers, is that they've stayed the course, right? They've stayed determined to be the better parent, and they keep building out the profiles of the kids or themselves, and they continue to share the information. They keep inviting the ex-spouse to the platform. Typically speaking, the ex comes around and gets on board at some point. That's what we have found happening. Probably 3 out of 4 times. That's exactly what has happened. It may take a year, it may take 2 years, but the adult parent that stays the course is typically the one that's going to look like the parent that's trying to do the right thing in front of the legal system, number one, and then of course in front of the child, number 2. So you are the one that's showing themselves to be the mature adult in this situation.
Mm.
And most of the time, the other parent does come around. Not all the time. Nothing's an absolute in this world, as we all know. But most of the time, the other parent has come around. And we've gotten some feedback from some of our subscribers to, in fact, that's been what the case has been. So we strongly encourage people to just slowly start building out the platforms. Don't try to tackle this all in one weekend or anything like that. One week do one thing, next week take on something else, the next week take on something else, and don't get frustrated with the other side so easily. You just stay the course and know that you're doing the right thing. Let this tool come beside you and help you to develop yourself into that better parent. And most of the time, people will take notice at some point.
Yeah, that's so great.
I love that.
Absolutely. I wonder, I've got a couple of different questions. I want to start with this one. There's a lot of parents who've been struggling in the family court system, and there's some volatile communication that goes on, so much so that sometimes it's court appointed that they have to use a communication app in order for the court to be able to see all of that. I think I have a couple questions in that. Number one, what is the difference, like the key differences between the Family Core and some of those other apps that are meant for this co-parenting communication? And two, if someone is court appointed to have to communicate in that way, would the Family Core be approved to do that?
Okay, so I got this call. One day in my office, I get a call from a rather aggressive attorney from back east. And she said, I need to know who you are because my client just got court ordered to use you and I don't know who you are. And so I had gone through that information with her, with who we are and what we did and how it could benefit her client. And she was blown away. And so she was excited then to turn around. It wasn't then such a hostile phone call. But I think when we first developed the app, our intention was to encourage families to use it before it got to a litigious standpoint.
Yeah.
And then we've been on the other side where it's been ordered and they need to use it. So I think more in the parallel, it's to teach better communication. And I know that some of the competitors that we do have, it is a forced, it's looked at as more of a forced habit that they need to learn. So we encourage people between our social media and then just having the app come alongside them in their day-to-day life, that it's more of a positive and they need to really hopefully approach it. It's a positive for the child not being forced through the court system. But if it is being forced through the court system, that we hope that it's more in a nurturing way and we're teaching them to communicate better and be accountable. Our chat feature is non-deletable. So once you say it, it's there. And that can be good, bad, or indifferent depending on who's doing the typing. But again, the intention is to, there is there 100%, there is accountability in parenting. And like you said with your daughter, she's 27 now and she knows. And so sometimes when we know that somebody's watching, we're more apt to do the right thing. We do have a mediation service up near you guys that is utilizing us with their client base. And they go ahead, the individual mediator has their own account and he has, they have their clients invite him into their family until they can do their mediation process, learn to communicate better, and he can help navigate that a bit. Not so, not in a big brother type of way, but hey, you did say this, maybe we could say this in a different manner, and then we can accomplish something a little bit better for the child. And so he works through that process with them until he can release himself from their communication. And so we're really trying to look at it from a more positive means to getting that daily habit going with your family. And again, a lot of it just comes from you're walking through the fire, it's hot, bad things happen. But once we get to the other side, we want to create as much harmonious behavior instead of having it being forced. But we're on both sides of the coin. It has been court-ordered, and then it's been used through a mediation system so that it's more nurturing. But we really would encourage parents to get on it straight away when the separation is coming. or you know that you're not going to be parenting from the same home, just so that you can start to encourage and communicate with each other in the best way possible.
Yeah, start building some good habits.
And to add to that, so on our webpage, what we're trying to do also is to build a community of blended families and other resources like yourselves, you guys, where we put links to different types of therapists or psychologists or just anecdotes that of the common problems that blended families have. So the Family Core webpage, we're trying to make it into a bigger community style resource. And what we're trying to convey through that webpage is that, hey, we are that. We're not some private equity firm looking to make a buck. So we have lived this as well. And this is what we have found that works and maybe doesn't work, right? But we're trying to build a blended family community out there, like you guys are doing through your podcast, and trying to help people who continually come into the blended family community. Because, as we know, some of the facts, there's about 1,300 blended families originating almost every day.
Yes. Yep.
30% of children live with one biological parent and one adult who's not a biological parent.
Yeah.
So the numbers are big, and those different types of non-traditional family dynamics, in our opinion, all fall into the blended family idea, basically. And so we think that the blended family community is actually a very large population of people, and there's a lot of people out there looking for remedies to their problems or solutions to their problems, and we want to come beside them and try to help as many people as possible. We know that we can't cure everybody's problems, but we want to try and help as many people as possible. That's our goal. That's why we got into this in the first place, and it's been a heck of a good journey.
Yeah, that's so cool. Thank you for sharing that.
We love all of that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So one of the things that I heard in there is, if a listener's in a court situation and they need something, you guys, the Family Core is an option for them.
Absolutely.
And what I really love is what I hear, that when somebody jumps onto your platform, even if it's like, oh boy, the court's telling us we have to do this, you're inviting them into changing their mindset around, wait a second, how can we make this as positive as possible for the benefit of everybody, primarily the kids? Because when there's consistency and there's healthy communication, that begins to develop a sense of security and stability for kids, which is linked to the best long-term outcome for them. When there's peace between the homes, there's consistency and all of that. Tell us, when it comes to the Family Core helping to create consistency in things like routines and that kind of thing, help us understand how the Family Core actually helps a child experience more stability.
How does it benefit the child?
So I'll give you a prime example. The kids come home and James is away at work. When the kids come home, we routinely come in, empty your backpack, empty your lunch pail, that kind of thing. When their work, they know that anything they did that day goes up on the counter. If I snap a picture of the kindergarten artwork or the third grade spelling test or the pre-calc test that somebody did really well on, and I'm loading it in there, he's at work, he sees it come up through the activity feed. And the second he comes to the door, it's inevitable. Our kids hear his car from 10 miles away and know it's coming. So they're chomping at the bit. And when he comes through the door and they want to say, I want to tell you about, my calc test. And he says, I saw you got a 98% on your calc test. Before they can even bring it to him, they feel like absolute rock stars. Now that's happening in our new nuclear family here.
Wow.
But for the benefit for a child going to the other house and having the parent that isn't under that roof that they haven't seen all week long, to have them walk through the door and a parent say, I love that drawing that you did in art 2 days ago. And they're thinking, that's at mom's house. How did you even see that piece of artwork? And it does no harm to say, hey, I saw your mom loaded that piece of artwork and I loved it.
Yep.
It means the world to the child. And what they actually hear is, Mom did that for me, and Dad is acknowledging it for me. And it has nothing to do with, they didn't argue over it. They didn't, they weren't holding a piece of artwork hostage. They shared it, and it was to the benefit of a child. And I joke about that, and I'm sure you guys will get this since you've been through the fire.
Yep.
But we made that mistake ourselves. We are not perfect. We're not the perfect parents. We're not the perfect step parents. We're not the perfect blended family at all. And I joke by saying that I have a set of coffee mugs that are a $2,000 set of coffee mugs because we wanted those coffee mugs. So I paid an attorney, I paid a judge, I paid everybody to hear that I'm getting the coffee mugs, and nobody drinks out of those coffee mugs. But they are a blessing and a reminder that every day that I open my coffee cabinet, I have my daughter's coffee mugs, and I paid way too much for them. And the point is I thought at the time it was a fight for my daughters to see I was fighting for them. And that's not what it was about. But now in retrospect, I'm looking back thinking I probably just needed to ask for the coffee mugs instead of involving all the animosity and all the anger. And to look back, how embarrassing it is to think that my 20-year-old and my 17-year-old knows I fought for coffee mugs. And that's really all they see. Instead of it had just been something harmonious if I said, hey, you know what? Can I just have the coffee mugs? And it would have been done. But instead, I put up the wrong fight. And so we made sure when we designed this, both parents should have the ability, but it's really for the benefit of the child to say, you recognize something I did, and it actually came from the other house. So we made it. We've made a diligent effort to make sure that the winner in the end was the child.
That's great.
Yeah, what you just shared right there just gave me goosebumps, honestly, Ginger, because what you've done is you've reduced the difficulty that kids experience having divorced parents and having to move back and forth. You've made it so much better when you can communicate with everyone what's going on in the life of this child. One of the biggest angsts we hear from kids is that, when I go to the other parent, then they ask me 101 questions of how did this go and what's happening here and what happened there. And if they're constantly being fed that information, they can just pick right up.
Up life.
When we were going through building the prototype, we put out a couple different surveys to thousands upon thousands of individuals. And one of the common themes that came back from kids or adults that had been kids through divorce was, I wish my parents could have just gotten along better. Not actually come back together. They knew they were realist about this, but just function better together. Just behave better together. And we really feel that this app helps to kind of bring a little bit more peace and tranquility to that broken relationship. We think that the app decreases the unpredictability in the children that move from household to household. Decreasing unpredictability decreases anxiety. Recent CDC numbers on depression and anxiety and behavioral disorders in children, they are all increasing over the course of the years in the ages from 3 to 17. Those numbers canvass the entire population. But when you look at a divorced co-parenting, or if you look at a blended family dynamic, the numbers are actually higher. They're not doubled, but they're higher in those proportions of children going through those types of family dynamics. So any tools that can be employed to help to reduce those types of problems in the children, because they only fester into more difficult problems, as you know, as adults. If we can allay those problems while they're still children and give them back some of their normal childhood tendencies, I think that we're doing a great service for our community.
Absolutely. And my 27-year-old, and she was the only one in our home that moved back and forth. She's has anxiety, and she has for years. And it's funny, we had breakfast with her right before we met with you guys, and I happened to mention to her, we're doing we're interviewing a couple to be on our podcast, and she asked, what is it about? And so I told her, what you guys do and the app you've created, and her eyes just kind of lit up. And she's like, oh, I wish you guys had that when I was growing up.
Yep.
And
It just clicked with her. It took like 2 minutes. And she's like, that makes so much sense.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. She said, I wish I had invented that. But then she made a really interesting comment. It's sad that she would make this comment actually, but she said, it would be great to have documentation of what was said so that there wasn't any argument about who said what. Because, we've all had difficult exes that say one thing, yeah, I'll be here at this time, or yeah, I'll take care of that, or yeah, I'll follow through with this. And then the ball gets dropped and it's, oh, well, I never agreed to that. Well, I said this, the crazy making cycle. And there was my poor little girl right in the middle of all of that, trying to figure out, wait, mom said this, dad said that, what's happening, what's going on. Right. And so she recognizes that it's great to have that. Here's a documentation of the agreements. Here's the picture of the invitation. There's no confusion, no misunderstandings, no way to go back and backpedal on things. And it's sad that she would recognize that, but yeah, her little face just like, wow, yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah. And I think that children, they want to show loyalty to both sides, sure. But if they start to recognize that both sides are on the same playing field, that they were both invited and both have the information, and then they don't have to be their own home mediator, and to take that component off of their shoulders to let them be 7 again is different. So I think that we've quickly recognized that our children that were raised going back and forth between homes became very efficient. I mean, they know that if they forgot the lunch, it wasn't going to be brought from the other side, or if the homework was forgotten at the other house, it wasn't going to be driven to the school, or whatever those circumstances are. They started to learn quickly that now I'm on my own. It's good to the extent of they become very responsible, but it also, they learn rather quickly to not have trust in either side. They had to trust themselves. And as tiny little people, that's so heavy. So heavy. And so to take that component out, we even us today, we have our chat threads that include him and I and just one child. And so we have multiple chat threads, but they can see mom and dad are both on it. So when, they text and say, hey, I'm going to school, both parents have been informed. It doesn't mean, if we were in 2 separate households, at least we'd both be informed she's going to school. And it doesn't mean we need to talk to each other. It just means that the kid told both parents and they feel good about it. And there doesn't need to be anything derogatory about it. We're just looking out for the safety of the child. Yeah. And then with the geolocation, there's not a consistent tracker on it. It gives the child or the parent the opportunity to check in. And when our children check in and it pins them to their location and he is at work, he can see in the activity feed that they checked in and he knows that they got to work safely. It would be the same if you were in 2 separate households. Why should mom, when she doesn't have the children, not have the opportunity to know that the child's safe at school?
Yeah.
It reduces so much anxiety.
Yeah. And I love that it's not like surveillance. It's the child is actually doing the check-in and offering, here's where I am.
And it's simple for them.
Yeah. And we all know in today's day and age, with everything that goes on at the school, if it takes just one button for me to know my child's safe and they're where they're supposed to be, I'm good. We have 5 to worry about, and just the peace of mind. But then to think, if you're on a 5 on 5 off type of schedule, or a 5-2-2-7, you worry about your kid until you see the whites of their eyes again. And it just shouldn't, that just shouldn't be a daily routine for the parents or the child, thinking about that in the back of their mind.
Yeah. We've had people say or accuse us of helicoptering or surveilling.
Right.
I turn that around and I say, it may appear that way at first, but I think even the children get wise to the fact that really what you're doing is you're just loving on them, because you're saying, check in. I care about you. I want to know that you're safe. It's okay. I'm not interrogating you or surveilling.
Right.
And then when you see them after school going like over to Taco Bell or wherever they go, it also gives you something to talk about later, right? It say, oh, you notice that you went over to Taco Bell. Who were you with? What'd you do? Or it just gives you other ideas to keep the communication open. It doesn't always have to be an interrogation style of communication. It can become just normal conversation. And over time, I think kids get wise to the fact that I think my parents actually just care about me.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so the tool can be used, obviously, to just develop the relationships as well.
Yeah, that's so good.
Yeah.
So good.
I mentioned we never had anything like this when we were co-parenting. It would have been great though, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But one thing we sometimes hear from other blended couples is that one parent will have a tendency to kind of over communicate with the kids and kind of invade the time that the kids have in their home. I'm wondering how that works with the app. Is there ever too much communication from that other parent to where they don't really have the freedom to just enjoy where they're at?
Where they're at, of course. So we've thought of that as well, because we've had that circumstance too.
Good.
And so what we had done primarily in the beginning, because our youngest one was 4. And so you do want to communicate and hear the mispronounced words or whatever that is. So what we had tried to do was set up a phone call at a specific time. And then after that, it was done. We didn't have an app like this either. So she was able to talk to them, or we were able to talk to them while they were away. But once that call was done, then we knew there was going to be no further communication at that point. In the app, what we've implemented is a notification in your settings. There's actually a notification. So if you want to do the nightly phone call, and at 6:30 after that communication, then it's done. We won't be responding anymore. And they know it. You can clearly say the boundary is the phone call is at this time, and I'll be shutting my notifications off at that time. So the constant text isn't coming for the child to be going back to check the device. And that would mean for an older child, but you can turn off all notifications while you're having family time, which is the time that is considered when you have the child, and those need to stop for the moment. So we've always had the children, even at night, there's no technology in the bedrooms, and that space is at a set aside area where the phones get charged, but honoring the other parent by saying, take your phone call, you have your time, but anything further after that, the notifications will be turned off. And you can toggle them off with one touch, toggle them back on in the morning, and it doesn't alleviate those messages that the parent has sent. It just puts them on quiet for the time.
Wow, that's great.
That's
so
really
the
good.
ability to have flexible boundaries is what you're offering there. That's great.
That really protects the child from kind of being pulled back and forth from home to home emotionally. They need to be able to settle.
Yep.
And so if the child knows that, oh, here's my phone call, and after that I can refocus and I don't have to worry about, having to be pulled back into that dynamic. That's
so
great.
good. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I'm curious. So we've noticed we've had a lot more interaction with couples who are blending, but they have adult kids. Okay. And they're finding that there's just as many challenges with adult kids that are off living their own life as there are with kids who are living in the home. And so we're trying to navigate some of that. And as I think about that, I mean, we've been married for 22 years now. And we're now at the stage where Annika, Kim's daughter from a previous relationship, as well as our 2 mutual kids, they're all adults and they're off and running,
doing their thing.
And so we're pseudo empty nesting right now. We're almost there. I'm curious, why would a couple like us benefit from using Family Core? Everybody's out. They're all gone.
We're no longer co-parenting.
Yeah. True. Well, here comes the honest part. We're getting old.
Well, thanks, Ginger.
Right.
I love your vulnerability for you and for us, Ginger. That's good.
We're getting old. And James always says that we had as many children as we did because somebody's got to pick our nursing home. He's really betting on the girls that are going to do it. But we are finding with our aging parents and the blend, even with them, because us having 2 adult children that are out of the house and then the 3 still at home, we're still trying. Once your adult child goes out, they start to have their own types of traditions or what they do or what they're acceptable. And then you're having to believe me, there's a book right here on my desk, Trying to Love and Pray for Your Adult Children, because you raised them to be their own person. We take great pride in thinking that we raise them well enough that if decisions had to be made for the younger ones or for us, that they're capable of doing that. So with that, with the secure document storage, you have powers of attorney, you've got still the color coded calendar, you still have your will, you still have all of those things. To be able to share that with your children that are possibly going to make those decisions, that's the heavier side. The lighter side is saying, hey, Annika, we put Christmas dinner on for 3:00 on the 23rd. Love to have you there. Let us know if you'll be attending. And then you have to let it go because you can't dictate her or the calendar. I send out a message to our 3 oldest to say, dinner on the 23rd at 3, and then we're going to go to service or whatever we're going to do. And we'd love for you to be involved. But that's all we can do is extend the invite. We're still going to carry our traditions at home and under our roof, just like you guys are as empty nesters. Yep. You invite them to be involved. So one of it would be from the legal logistics side so that they know your wishes. And from the casual side of saying, hey, this is what we're doing and love to invite you if you can make it. So we do have older people on the platform. Both of our sets of parents are on the platform because we would love to invite them, but I have siblings and he's got siblings. So there's other opportunities for even our parents, even though they're empty nesters, to be able to go and do other things or maybe be traveling. But again, it's just open communication with the person with the 0 behind that number.
That totally makes sense. So it's not like, well, last one's 18. I guess we delete family core. There's so much value beyond that.
Yeah, your family continues to grow. And what we're seeing is that there's a legacy to family core. You have the ability to actually link different family accounts together and still keep the permissions in place so you can keep your private information private, but share what you need to. For example, we have each of our sets of parents on an account, and then we're linked to their families. So we have a lateral and vertical family links in our family core accounts these days. And we keep track of all of our parents' medical and legal documents through the family core. We had an example the other day where her mom was at a doctor's appointment and couldn't find an order for an imaging that she needed to have done, but Ginge had snapped that and put it in the family core. So she was able to actually go in and navigate for mom where that order was and get it to the person behind the desk at the imaging center so that she could get her report done that day. So it's those types of things that actually make this tool so powerful. It's not just about custody documents for the principal when there's going to be a blow up over a custody schedule at 3:00. So it's also related to medical issues, not just for kids, but for your aging parents or anybody who's under your family umbrella, if it will be. It could be a close friend across the street. Keeping track of those types of documents usually occurs when you're not at home. You're usually out somewhere remotely. And you can't just say, Mom, stay there at that imaging center for the next hour and a half till I get home and I'll help figure it out. Well, she was able to help figure it out when she was over at the grocery store, literally, to help sort it out within a 5-minute period of time. And Mom never had to leave the radiology center and got her scan done without any issue at all. So it's those types of situations that make the tool powerful. And also extend beyond the normal age limits of what we think we're talking about when we talk about families. It's really just a complete overall family organizational tool.
You guys are master organizers.
I know, I love it. I love it.
Impressed.
That's so cool. Wow, what a powerful tool. What a cool thing. I wonder, what have we not talked about that you believe, boy, people listening really need to understand this about Family Core?
One of the features that we put in place, going back to the traditional co-parenting type of dynamics, one parent may not be as happy to be on the platform as another one. There's a bunch of different types of safety features that we put into play contingent upon what the relationships are actually like. One parent may be a little less apt to want to be on that, or maybe that's the one that's maybe their behavior is a little bit more erratic, you can set different types of roles for parents like that so that they have the ability to add information or to view information, but maybe not necessarily edit information at that time. So that they can't destroy pieces of information that are in the family core account for the benefit of the child right now.
Yeah.
Those relationships get better. You can change those roles so that they have what we call administrative ability, which gives you editorial ability over the account as well. So as maybe the dynamics get better, then maybe everybody's more on equal ground and equal footing and becomes more of a good co-parenting dynamic. That's one. We had touched on permissions where we say, you guys are talking about putting really sensitive information into this system. Well, we've leveraged the same HIPAA compliant clouds that doctors' offices and attorneys' offices use. So it's as safe as any of the banking systems or attorney systems are using out there for all those types of sensitive documents as well.
Great.
James touched on the fact that even though you're in your account, you can't get to any of that information unless you have that secondary PIN system.
Yeah.
Actually pull up that specific document or that specific piece of information. So we have two-step verification just to get into the account. And then there's a tertiary level of security just to access to that one piece of information that might be sensitive, like a social security number or a living will document. And the other feature to know is that there is a lot of personal information that potentially can be on this platform. We do not sell information. We don't data mine and we don't sell information. That is not to the advantage of anybody that's helping to run this platform. And it's not in the best interest of anybody who's using the platform. And so we're just not going to go there. We've already had people want to approach us about those types of issues, and we've just flat out refused. We're not going to go. That's not what this is about. This isn't about being a Fortune 500 company. This is about to the community.
Yeah.
Great. One of the features in there is that when you do set up your child, you do a blanket form. So at the moment that you're filling it in, and you can update it, as often as needed. But then the other parent also gets that kind of blanket form: how tall they are, how much they weigh, their blood type, their favorite color, their shoe size, their dress size, their, allergies, any of those things. It's there because the last thing you want to do is have to call your ex to say, what size shoe does she wear, or what size is he wearing? And all of those sizes are different. So if you're not privy to that, but you are still trying to, do the right thing for the child, the last thing you want to do is be standing in a department store and then say, I don't even know what size dress she wears. And you can pull up the About Me page, and the other parent would be able to see that as well. And they can see she wears a size 9 and didn't have to call mom or dad or opposing counsel to find out what that was. They have the blanket form to tell you. So that's a great example. And we've run into it too. And sometimes your ex isn't accessible to get on the phone with the principal to say, yes, we did exchange days and she is going to be there to pick them up. James takes the girls in the spring. He does a daddy-daughter ski trip. Our youngest daughter is a little 40-pound, 4-foot thing. And they were riding the ski lift all day long, and then shift change, they get somebody new and they look at her and they say, well, you have to, that pass is old. That was last year's pass. And you need to go prove she's not 10.
Continue to ski on the same pass.
Her into the customer service desk, and the woman behind the counter says, yeah, I'm going to need a birth certificate. And they're in Flagstaff, not next to the filing cabinet. And there's a ton of moms behind them. And they're like, a birth certificate? Is he just going to whip it out of his ski jacket?
Yeah, really.
He actually said, no problem. I've got it right here.
There it is, right here.
Opened up and every mom behind him was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. How did you do that?
Amazing. That is so cool.
She basically said, you're the first person that I've ever said that to that produced an actual birth certificate. And she got the pass and they moved on. But to solve a problem that could be massive in whatever given circumstance, we had with our daughter, she took our other daughter to a birthday party. So she I thought I'll call and let her know I did it, but I didn't even need to do that. I tagged her on the birthday party information. She looked up the address. She remembered the gift. So my 20-year-old is with my 9-year-old. And so when I talked to her, I said, "Oh, I tagged you on." And she said, "I know, Mom. I got the address. I remembered the gift. I know where I'm going. See you in a bit." But it's just because I opened it up this morning, tagged her on it, and then it popped over to her calendar and she got a notification. You're taking your sister to the birthday party. And it just, there may be an instance where I wouldn't have been able to communicate with her, but she would have gotten a notification saying, "Hey, you've been added to this event today."
So cool.
She had what she needed right there at her fingertips.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Yeah, organized parents produces more organized children.
Wow.
And that's really a good, if you're trying to be intentional as a parent, you prepare them the best way possible.
Yeah, I love that. I saw another statement of yours that said it's the app that fills the gap. Is that right? Yeah.
Love that.
Totally. So cool. Man, what a neat story of your own struggle, your own challenge that then gets transformed into this extremely practical idea that's helping families across the world, which I think is so cool. And we're so blessed to be able to connect with you and hear more about that. Can I ask just a couple of technical questions that are on my mind?
Yes.
Okay. Here's a real softball. I think a simple one. I go to Apple Store, whatever on Apple or Google Play, wherever I go. Is this just a free app or is there a fee?
So there's a fee. It's a subscription-based service.
Yep.
Okay.
So you can go to our webpage at thefamilycore.com and sign up for a trial, or you can go to the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store and look us up as The Family Core as well. And download the app. Once you fill out the general demographics information, you have a 7-day trial.
Yep.
And if you like it, then it goes into a 30-day by 30-day subscription-based product.
Yeah.
We charge $3.99 a month, which we found is certainly below the average of our peers out there.
So reasonable.
And you can get up to yourself and 9 other members to one account. For that price.
Okay. So
you can cancel at any time.
Yep.
And then we'll hold on to the information for 30 days once canceled. After that, all information is destroyed and not retrievable.
Wow. That's so for $4 a month, you get everything that we just talked about.
And imagine how much time this saves you and frustration.
That's
$50 a year. You can have a better sense of peace of mind.
And create more peace for your children.
And when you say you can have up to 9 members on the account, that means if you sign up and you're trying to invite that former spouse in, they don't have the excuse of, I don't want to pay $4 a month, right? Because you're covering that cost.
Yeah, awesome.
Okay.
That eliminates a roadblock right there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just so another really technical question that I'm thinking about is the scheduling piece of it integrated at all with Google Calendar or iCal or anything like that?
So we're working get the Google Calendar integrated with our calendar, just because so many school district calendars are based off of the Google platform. We want to be able to download that. Our prototype had that ability. This new version doesn't have the ability yet, but it's on our whiteboard over there as one of the pieces of function that is to come, because we do realize that's a big component, and it's a time saver to just be able to load the school calendar right onto that calendar as well. So it's in the works. We don't have it as we speak right now, but it's in the works. It's on the radar.
I love that.
Awesome.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah, so cool. Wow, what a powerful tool. And you guys are really just in your ability to think through all the pieces. You're really, as a team, you're a powerful force in really helping other blended family couples. I love that some of that also even came from people around you just noticing. You guys are doing something different. I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I'm sure your children notice as well.
Absolutely.
I mean, this is amazing.
Yeah, so good.
Oh, they notice with their eye rolling. They notice.
I bet.
One of the things we try to do is we try to put some positive messaging on the webpage as well. One of the things that we've recognized is that a lot of people who come to the webpage, they're not in feel good moves, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're looking for answers to tough problems, and they're not necessarily in their best place.
Yeah.
And so we try to put up some positive remarks about, this storm too will pass, to stay the course, and types of just positive pieces or positive messages out there. And we really want to make it just a more inviting platform all the way around.
Yeah. One thing I noticed, I went on your website to kind of check it out, and there was a really beautiful video right on there where you could see, how this works and the benefits, and it was very interactive and very calming and soothing. And go on and watch the video. Everyone listening, learn more.
Absolutely.
It's an amazing tool.
So what's the website? Where do they actually go?
www.thefamilycore.com.
Okay. So if you want to connect with James and Ginger and you want to check out the Family Core, www.thefamilycore.com. And we're going to put a link in the show notes so that you don't even have to remember any of that. You just click it. And you go right there.
Technology can be great.
Absolutely. It can be when it's used well and with purpose, right?
Yes. Love it.
Absolutely.
If you want to follow us on our social media sites, I try and make sure to look at from every parent perspective. We put quick meal menu type of things or ideas for dinner, different activities for the kids that you might want to do or look at that are cost effective, because we all know that if you're in a situation of transition or in the legal system or whatever, you want to look for cost effective ways to still make memories with your family while you're blending. So we try and make sure that we harness every type of parenting arena so that we can give attention to each of those, because we know they're all important.
Yeah. You don't want to miss the important moments.
Yeah. Yeah. What social media channels do you focus on?
Primarily on Instagram and some Facebook, so it crosses over. So the majority of everything that we do on Instagram, and we're the Family Core on Instagram. And if you want to like, share, or comment, we're there, and we love suggestions.
And we have our YouTube channel as well, where we put up all of our tutorial videos, because there's some complexity to the platform, and so we try to answer a lot of the more common questions out there. How do you upload? How do you build a chat thread? Those types of things. What's an admin role? What's a parent role? Those types of things. So we try to answer those questions. So you can go to our YouTube channel too at the Family Core.
Wow.
Great.
Fantastic.
Well done.
I'm wondering on your social media platform, when you share ideas, do you have ideas on there for family activities with this big age gap? Because you guys have the big age gap in kids, and that's a big challenge.
We connected with a couple at one of the conferences, and they are Enjoy Your Blended Family. Yeah. And they do have an age gap as well. And they come up with not only primary ideas to blend your family in fun, but the focus of your marriage as well. So activities that are inexpensive or fun for not only building your relationship with your husband and wife that you're now blending with, but then activities that you can do with your children, even with an age gap. So we've found a lot of fun in them, and we put a link on our website to them as well. So I've had to take a couple cues from them, because it is pretty difficult to kind of bridge that gap. I've taken some cues from some other people.
Okay.
But yes, activities to do with the big age gap it's been a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, you guys have just presented all kinds of great ideas and resources. Absolutely. And thank you so much for being on the show.
Absolutely. What might be one final encouragement you'd like to give to the listeners?
Again, it goes right back to the beginning, which is you got to find a way to rise above all the static and the negative energies that can be out there, which is common. And once you begin to have a couple successes in that, then you can stay the course. And that's what you have to do. You have to stay the course and not worry about everything else that you just can't control.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, James. How about for you, Ginger?
I think that we've had to view the last decade as you're either in a storm, coming out of a storm, or ready to go into a storm. And we really buckled down as a family. We presented ourselves as a team, And what affects one person in the team is going to affect everybody in the team. Having, nightly meetings or regrouping and saying, this is what today looked like. How could we do different? What was your favorite part? What was your worst part? This is what tomorrow looks like. How can we make the best of, the success for our team type of thing so that we could weather the storms? And some seasons were better than others, but it's important to remember that who's under your roof at night, that's who's going to weather the storm. And even when your kids transition back and forth, if they know that your house is the safe place to weather the storm, they'll always come back.
Yeah, love that. Thank you so much. Wow, what a blessing to get to connect with both of you today. And I'm confident that those listening have really heard the benefit of the work that you're continuing to do to help couples all over the globe. Yeah. James and Ginger, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure to have you with us.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mike, and we appreciate you guys. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. You too.
Absolutely. And for those of you listening, if you've had a stirring at all, if you've been thinking, boy, I think our family would really benefit from this, I want to encourage you, go over to the show notes and click on that link, thefamilycore.com. Go check it out. You can't lose. 7-day free trial, $4 a month for all this stuff that we are talking about. That's absolutely incredible. And so we just want to encourage you to go do that. As we head into the new year, imagine what might be different by the time you hit December 31st of 2023. If you actually took the intentionality each week to just do a little bit more around organizing, communicating, and collaborating across households, what might be different in just 12 months for your child? Think about that and maybe think about heading over there.
Absolutely.
All right. Hey, thanks so much again for joining us today. I think that's going to make this episode a wrap.
Until next time.